Welcome to the Clever Angle mini-series, Voicing the Silence. Today we will be looking at the biracial perspective, and my guest is my long-term friend, Chiara Randall. Chiara, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. How's Little Rock?
Little Rock is, it's Little Rock. It was definitely a move that I wasn't expecting to make a year ago. I know that I've talked to you many times and I found myself wanting to get back to Texas or back to Jonesboro because I was so uncomfortable with being here, but I just kind of took a leap of faith and here I am, and then so far it's going pretty good.
Yeah. So for anyone that's listened to my other two episodes in this miniseries, um, Kiara is actually the friend that I brought to church with me. So, Kiara, there's so much going on in the country. I want to start with Little Rock. I heard that there was something going on in Little Rock where some of the Walmarts were shutting down. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I want to say so it's crazy. Everything's been going on with the Walmart shutting down or they're boarding up their doors. But just recently, Sunday, I actually came to Jonesboro. And as I was going to Jonesboro to pick Peyton up, of course, I'm listening to stuff, I'm getting calls, and I glanced at Facebook. And supposedly, there's on Bowman in Cantrell, the KKK was doing a rally there. And they had shut down not only Walmart, but Sam's Club. But down here, we also have all the Walmarts. They close at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the Walmart, I live in Maumelle, but North Little Rock, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the Walmart closes at 8, maybe 8:30, but I can go to Kroger, which is in Maumelle, and it stays open till 11. And it's literally, I'm telling you, 30 seconds up the road. But it's
Wow.
been crazy. Even like one of the Targets I went to, it was already boarded up. I couldn't even get to it one day. I don't remember what day it was, but
So, what is the point of boarding it up?
yeah, I think they were trying to prevent being looted.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got
So
you.
trying to prevent people from looting and their building getting destroyed. That was my thought process on it.
Yeah, the WalMarts up here are closing at 8:30 as well. Not because of the protest or anything. I think just because of the coronavirus and there's just been so many things that have been plaguing our country, and I just feel like it's one thing after another continuously. You just wake up and you see some new piece of news of something that happened. So I want to start with current events. So what do you think about the George Floyd situation, police brutality, everything that's going on right now?
Um, like you said, 2020 has been it's like hit after hit after hit. So when this happened, I honestly, the truth, I was upset, I was sad, and I'm honestly lost. Like I'm at a loss for words sometimes because it it's it's terrifying living in a world like this. Like I'm scared for my daughter, like I'm scared for the black men and the black women around me every day.
We can talk a little bit about the incident that just happened in Atlanta with Rayshard Brooks. I don't know if you heard anything about the story. So basically, Rayshard Brooks was a black man in Atlanta. He was intoxicated in a Wendy's parking lot. The police were called because this guy was in his car and he was asleep. They arrive on the scene. It escalates to the point where I believe he tried to reach for the taser, um, and was resisting arrest to some point, and he runs. He runs away. So he's running off in the distance, and they shoot him in the back twice. And he doesn't immediately die, but from blood loss and just punctured organs, he ends up passing away on the way to the hospital. And a riot just incites in Atlanta to where they ended up, I believe, burning the Wendy's down. What do you think about?
Wow,
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. I knew what happened.
Yeah,
However, I didn't even know that there was a riot going on, and that they were burning the Wendy's down. Like I know about what happened in Atlanta, but I didn't know that it was getting like that.
on the heels of the Floyd situation, which another black man is killed by police force. I've seen different takes on the situation. Some people said it was justified. I know the mayor of Atlanta says it wasn't justified. I know the officer that shot him has since been fired, and I just found out that in 2017 there was an incident where he was using, excessive force with a firearm, and so it's like these aren't the first time. It's just really sad. It's just really sad that death can keep happening
I was
all
gonna say that
around
it
us.
keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah,
Like it hasn't changed.
yeah. I'm honestly just really really disheartened. So what is your take on your relationship with the police and police brutality?
So my relationship with the police, and I don't know how this is gonna sound, but I'm not a threat.
Okay.
It's crazy. I feel like I don't feel like I'm a threat. I've had my regular routine stops for speeding. It's always ended with a warning, the laughs, and I go about my business and I speed off. I think I mean I'm 27 and I think I've received one ticket in my life, and I was 18, 19 years old, and that was actually by a black cop. But I was going 15 miles per hour over. So I deserved it. Um, but just like a little instance that I recently had, a few months ago, I was pulled over. I was coming from Jonesboro, of course. It was 9 o'clock at night. Um, but I wasn't nervous because I was black. And I can say that being biracial, like I'm black and white, but that's not why I was nervous. Hence, when you get pulled over, that's why you're nervous, or
Yeah.
anybody else that's black, and a man, or even black women. But he's pulling me over, and I'm nervous because it's dark outside. I'm nervous because I have my 5-year old, and I've never been pulled over with her. So I literally paused. I explained to Peyton that, mommy's about to get pulled over. I was going too fast. It's okay. Don't be scared. Just watch your iPad. So, of course, she's 5. So she just looks at me quietly and she says, okay. And she just watches her iPad. I pull over and it's a state trooper. And he walked to my vehicle and he's flashing the light all in the back seat. He's flashing the light all in the front seat. And of course, I had already rolled my window down. I actually think I rolled my window down. And obviously, when you're on the interstate, you have to roll the other window down. But I was so nervous, I rolled the other one down. Um, but he greeted me. He asked where I was going so late at night. Did I realize I was speeding? Obviously, I did. But long story short, I got a warning. Like, he handed me the warning. He told me to stop speeding. Um, but he said something, and I had, I was in Newport. I had an hour and a half, I don't know, an hour left to drive. And he said something that just stuck with me. And Tevin, I honestly don't even know if he meant it that way, but my gut was telling me that he did. He said, she's such a sweet girl. She smiles and she's waving at me, and she's not scared like the others. What does
Wow.
that mean? Like, what? I was so caught off guard. Like, he said it, walked off, smiled, waved, whatever. And obviously I'm not gonna be like, hey, what did you mean? Like, because I was so I, I can't even explain it. I, on my way home, I just sat there quietly thinking. I didn't even play any music, any books that I usually do. She had her iPad, and we talked about it, but I just honestly was sitting on the others.
Yeah.
Like, what did that mean? Is he saying, like, I pull over black people and their kids are scared? That they feel like, how did they feel? And that's why I said I don't know if that's how he meant it, but like I said, in my gut, that's how I felt. Um, and also, I looked at it before I pulled off. I looked at my warning because I didn't even know how fast I was going over. I just knew I was speeding. But I look at the warning, and, it has a piece of paper on it with everything. And of course, I go to the race column, and it has a W. And
Wow.
so it, it's weird. Like, it's weird, and I don't know. I can't even explain to you how I felt because I'm like, you just automatically assumed that I was white. And then the comment he made, that whole instance, I was just frustrated. So
Yeah.
it's like I haven't had police brutality, like, excuse me, police brutality, like, but I've had comments like that make me think, like, what in the hell are the cops thinking? Like,
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
Just as you were telling that story, I was getting nervous. Like I was imagining myself with my kids in the car, uh, late at night, um, and a cop pulls me over. And I've said this to pretty much anyone that knows me. The police vehicle is the most intimidating vehicle on the road by far, and it gets about 10 times more intimidating when the blue lights come on.
Right.
So it's just interesting, seeing the reasons why you were nervous versus the reasons why I might have been nervous. You know, I don't want my kids to see me in some kind of compromised position. What did I do? Why did I get pulled over? What's going to happen? Those are some of the thoughts that are rushing through my mind as the cop comes. But it's really interesting to hear how he perceived you, and it's such an interesting job and difficult job because a lot of people are still, have these biases versus like when it comes to race. So you can't really take those out of the job, and you can't really tell who is what type of way. And it's just such a kind of like a one-on-one type job to where they're their own entity when they're out there on the streets, that you really don't know what's going to happen. And
Right.
it really comes down to their word versus yours. So yeah, I mean that's a really interesting story, and I didn't know that.
Right. And I mean, like, I get it, but there's definitely a problem. And for the people that aren't perceived as bad, they're not using their voice. They're not using the platform that they have to correct the problem.
Moving on, how do you feel about the police in general?
They need schooling. I know that when I initially started school in Texas before I came back to ASU, I wanted, criminology. And it's such a easy course to take. And I didn't even need that. I didn't need that to go be a probation officer, parole officer. Um, I think that it's so easy to become a cop. Like, I know that we discussed it before as well. Like, you need a psychiatric exam. I think that you need, obviously, background checks are done, but how
Yeah.
far back are you going? Um, has this problem had, has this person had problems in the past? I just think that police they're ready to shoot as soon as they exit the vehicle. And I understand that a police officer doesn't know what they're walking into, but neither do we, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what's going to happen when you pull me over. And that's kind of why I said, like, our reasonings are different, but you've got fake cops, like fake cop cars,
Yeah.
harassing, rapes, like that. Like, that's, I don't know. Just honestly, I just think that they need to go to school and they need to pass an exam showing that they're indifferent, if
Yeah.
that's the right word to use.
Yeah, I definitely think that, there's two extremes to this type of situation. You've got people saying that they need to completely just get rid of the police, defund the police. I don't think that's the answer. And obviously what we're doing right now isn't working. I think there needs to be higher qualifications for someone that's legitimately going to be the embodiment of justice and, upholding the law. That's an important job. And honestly, I say give the police officers more money, make the schooling better, and make get some better quality cops in there. Maybe increase the physical requirements as far as like what a cop is physically able to do, and just get some better representations in there. I don't want to put all of the cops in one barrel because I know a lot of good cops.
Right.
There's just the margin of error for a police officer has to be very small when it comes to deaths. You're not out here. You don't have the gun so you can kill people. It's to protect yourself. And I just think that gray line has just been so wishy washy to the point where people are saying, "Well, I felt threatened. That's why I killed him." I just think that they need to use a little bit more discernment to value human life a little bit more, especially in certain situations like the George Floyd situation where he was already subdued, he was already in handcuffs. The Rayshard Brooks situation when he was running away. Those people aren't threats. So
you shot him in the back.
yeah,
And as far as George Floyd, how long does it take to detain someone? Not only that, he was already detained.
yeah,
I'm confused as to where your knee came into play.
exactly. And yeah, there's been many articles and many police captains and chiefs have said that that's not in anywhere in the protocol. This was just something that he was doing, on his own. And what do you do in a situation like that? Do you rush in there? Do you try to be the hero? Do they see you as a threat and maybe you're laying next to George Floyd? It's just a pretty much an impossible situation to be in, because who polices the police? That's my whole thing. Like, who polices the police?
Right.
Uh, so
Who holds them accountable? Like,
yeah. So uh, that's current events. That's the police brutality. I want to keep moving on because I don't. We could probably spend an hour sitting here talking about that. So I want to know about what it's like to be biracial. So was it like? What was your family dynamic growing up, and what was it just like being biracial growing up?
I feel like every biracial person is different. Like, everybody's not going to have the same um, outcome as me. They're not going to have the same opinions as me. Anybody that knows me knows that I was raised by a white single mom with this biracial baby. My dad has been in prison or jail for most of my life, so um, I didn't even have a relationship with him until college, and then I didn't have a father figure until I was about 8. Um, and so my mom's been married 20 years now to a black man. Growing up biracial, I think people think it's like it's easy, if that makes sense. Like, oh no, you
Yeah.
got the best of both worlds. It's not easy. It's like a switch from being black to white to black to white. And I think we all do it subconsciously, depending on like who you're with, depending on what you're talking about. I think that everybody does that, but I think that biracial people definitely struggle with that just because that's it, like that's all we know. As we're growing up, we're trying to identify ourselves, um, who we're more prone to be with or around, who we involve ourselves with.
Did you ever feel like you had to pick sides at any point in your life?
I don't feel like I had to pick sides. I feel like I had to defend sides
Okay.
on both ends.
What was your school situation like growing up? Did you have a lot of white friends? Did you have a lot of black friends? What was that like?
So no, I mean, I had white friends, black friends, all friends. Like, it was honestly based off their character. It was
Yeah.
never based off the color of their skin. I never saw it that way. That's not how I was raised. Um, Playing volleyball and softball growing up, I was around more white people. So that's where kind of my white friends came into play. And then outside of that, it was mainly my black friends that I had,
Okay.
or being at work. Well, we're talking about childhood, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
So, would you say that um, had any racism showed against you, like or privilege showed for you, um, like in the black community or in the white community? Like, how are you viewed by other people?
Right. So I want to bring up this before I answer that.
Yeah.
So um, I saw the post a few days ago. I think even Destiny made a post about the interracial couples.
Yeah.
That was in 1967. Um, my mom started high school 87, graduated 89, whatever, and I still remember her telling me all throughout high school, 20 years later. So you got something, a law that passes saying that you can marry somebody that's a different race than you. But 20 years later, my mom was still being called, I don't know if I want to use the term, um, a nigger lover. Like
Yeah.
that's I mean, that's it. Like that's what she was called. Um, so I don't know. Like I felt I needed to say that because I remember seeing those posts from a few days ago,
Yeah.
and
I think
it,
one.
her
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
her rate, like her dealing with that is how I've been brought into it, if that makes sense. Like her racism wasn't the same as my racism,
Yeah.
um, but I definitely dealt with it growing up on both sides, like you said, with privilege and just straight up racism. I remember I brought up my mom because I remember family gatherings. My mom wasn't allowed. Well, let me not say allowed. She wasn't welcomed because she had a biracial baby. Family reunions, just gatherings on our white side.
Wow.
Like we weren't able to go, and to be honest, it's 2020, and I still don't really um, attend those family reunions, and neither does I think my mom has been, but neither does my stepdad or my siblings, just because, well, it's still not welcomed, and that was years ago. I think also I remember being at a church event, and I was asked if I was from Africa.
By who?
My skin tone. It
Yeah.
was like my skin tone. I was asked, was I from Africa because of my name. Um,
Wow.
so The Lion King has my name in it. I was born before Lion King came out, the original one,
Yeah.
but because it was filmed in Africa, I was from Africa because that was my name.
Wow.
Um, and that's I mean, I've got comments as in, "Oh, you're black. Well, you're pretty. I would have never known. Oh, your skin tone is so pretty. What are you? What? I'm human." Um,
Yeah.
or from the black side, you aren't black. Your mom's white. Or maybe because I'm only half black, I'll never understand.
You'll never understand what like the black side of you, or is that what?
Right? I'll never understand because I'm not fully black. So like I experience it on both sides, white and black.
Yeah.
And it's I didn't really deal with that. I think still even in college I got comments like that, not like, not maybe in a serious way, but maybe like a jokingly way, like, oh, you're pledging, aka, oh, you don't want to be in a white sorority, like you don't want to do this and that, because I wasn't all the way black. And it's like I posted something on Facebook the other day, and it's like, too black for the white people, but too white for the black people. Like, how?
Yeah.
How?
And that's just one thing that I want to emphasize by doing this episode. People need to realize that words matter. Words matter. Like, you know, these are things that one of my good friends is remembering 15, 16 years ago that's still sticking with her today. And that's not right on either side to treat somebody like that. Another thing I want people to know is that, 1967, that's not that long ago. Is it better than what it was? Yes, but there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Um, it's just easier for people to hide their prejudices now, and yeah, I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Right. Yeah, no, it's something that I just, got used to. I mean, I didn't look black. I'm tan. But I've got the curly hair. But
Yeah.
wait, she has freckles. She's not black. She has freckles.
Yeah.
And it's it's interesting to hear other people's opinions and their comments about your race.
Is there a one side that you would say that you identify more with?
I think that obviously I'm going to relate with both sides because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, my mother is white and my father
Yeah.
is black. But I think that I relate and I side more with the black side. And it's as simple as black people are more accepting than
That
white
yeah,
people.
that's what I was gonna say. Not more of like relate, but feel accepted by us. But you answered my
Right.
question. Yeah,
They're definitely, I mean, the black people are just more accepting.
I see where you're coming from. I've got biracial children, so I definitely wanted to talk to someone that is going through that has experienced some of these things growing up because I mean it's a completely different thing to navigate. It's the legitimate melding of two completely different cultures together, and you're trying to raise these children up to respect people for who they are, for their character, for how they treat you, to base people on that versus basing people on what shade of brown they are. So
Right.
you talked a little bit about the white side of your family as far as family gatherings and things like that. What was it like on your black side?
So on my black side, it's more welcoming, obviously.
Yeah.
It's more fun. It's also, what would be the word for it? It's just it's different. On the black side, and I'll go to the white side right after this because you've got one grandmother telling you be with a black man. He's going to be more understanding. He's going to understand what you go through later on in life with your kids. Be with a black man. And then if you turn that around, I've got a grandmother, literally, that is white and has always said, "Be with a white man. He will take care of you. Like
Wow.
he will treat you better. Your kids won't grow up hard because you chose to be with a white man." Like, so you got those people telling you what to do, and obviously, I've made my decision. Not like I've never dated a white guy, and part of it is probably because of those comments.
Yeah.
And I'm just at the end of the day, for me, I'm just going to be with who I want to be with, and I can honestly say I agree more with the black side on that. I think that even now having a daughter, I think that they are going to be more understanding. They are going to understand that there's racism still going on in the world because they're living it versus me having the other side.
Outside of your mother, do you have like a relationship with anyone else on that side of the family?
Yeah, I have a relationship with a couple people, mainly my nana, which is my grandmother's, what I was saying earlier, which is my mom's mom. She's Yeah, she's my nana. Like that's who my relationship is with, and that's actually, you know, a pretty strong relationship. Um, she keeps Peyton. She always asks about Peyton. It's it's never any of those comments anymore, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I think she sees, yeah, that decision has been made. Don't speak on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. Um, I
But the
def.
people that were treating us that way at the gatherings were her brothers. I
Yeah.
mean, like my nana's brothers. She's almost 70, so I mean, they're all older than her. But it was
Yeah.
them. I was gonna say those people, but it was them treating me that way, or my mother for that.
What are some things that you find offensive?
There's so many things that have been offensive. I think from the day I was born all the way up, even till now. I can't stand the you don't look black. I can't stand you just look like you have a natural tan.
Yeah.
I've been told stay out of the sun, you're getting too dark. Um, what does that mean? I'm getting too dark. I'm tanning. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I'm black, so of course I'm going to get darker with the sun. Um, but also on the other end, don't tell me I'm not black because I'm white, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't tell me I haven't been through anything when you don't know.
Yeah.
Like
So it's on
it's
both sides, basically.
yeah, it's been on both sides, and I think people think that it's one sided a lot for people that are biracial, but it's not. Like you got to come in from both ends.
So we both watched the 13th documentary. I have some thoughts on it, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it because it was one of the things that I watched this over the weekend that it was really powerful and it really stuck with me. But I want to get your thoughts first. Yeah.
I was actually amazed that I hadn't seen it before because it's 2016 is when it came out.
Yeah.
There's I was educated watching that documentary because it's history that we didn't get growing up. Like we didn't learn that history,
Yeah.
maybe bits and pieces, but no, not like that. And it was just a lot to take in. I was shocked of the prison population for black men. I knew it was a lot, but that was a lot. If that makes sense.
Yeah. The stat
One of
about
the
1 in 3 black men will be incarcerated in their lifetime, and it's like 1 in 17. Like a white counterpart would be incarcerated. 25% of the world's prisoners are in the United States. That just blew
yes,
my mind.
yes, and also I think one of the cast members, Michelle Alexander, I think,
Yeah.
she said something that stuck with me, and it was, "We haven't ended racial past, but we've redesigned it."
Yeah.
It's definitely been redesigned. Racial inequality is still very much alive, and I'll just leave my comment at that. That's my takeaway from that.
Yeah, I actually did watch it twice, which was very interesting. Going back, watching it for a second time with my wife, you catch things like after the Civil War, it was a majority of black prisoners that rebuilt the economy after the war. You know that they need people working to sustain a lot of these big corporate businesses like J.C. Penney, and they mentioned some other ones in there as well. I was just taken back. I was taken back by we have this system that's basically designed to, on the outside looking in without further research, that they don't really want you to get out. They don't want you to get out because if people get out, then these you don't have people working. So like while you're in there, they do very little to rehabilitate you, and even if you do get out, you'll probably end up back in there.
You'll still be seen as a felon.
Yeah, exactly. They shun you. Yeah, they said that too. They said they shun you. They basically put like a scarlet A on you, and you can't get a job, and you're either going to go back into the system, or commit suicide, or just work at a low grade kind of job.
Yeah.
So, but I want to finish with, what has it been like bringing a child into this world, and how do you teach your daughter about racism?
Peyton is 5.
Yeah.
She's 5, and we're just now discussing certain things. Um, I think, as Jalen mentioned in your last podcast, um, I'm trying to keep her innocence as long as I can
Yeah.
because it this world is scary. It's evil, and I had a conversation with her on the way home, telling her like, "Hey, I'm gonna be on the phone for a minute, talking to somebody about." Basically, I had to use different words, but about the police brutality and about racial injustice, and um, the same conversation that my mom had to have with me that might be judged based off the color of your skin.
Yeah.
And she asked what color. She asked me what color, and I said black. And I'm Tevin, she teared up. She's literally said, "But I'm black, but you're black, but daddy's black." And she starts going down the list. And it's so hard to explain. You can't explain it to a 5-year old without getting emotional.
Yeah.
So I've made it very clear that she's 75% black and that she's 25% white, just because she is. Like
Yeah.
that's what she is. This world will see her as black, and that's that. I know that, like, growing up for me, um, you remember, the forms that you have to fill out, and they only used to give you
Yeah.
certain races.
Mm-hmm.
I think in like the 2000s is when it changed, but you always had to choose. Are you African American, Caucasian, whatever? And I remember always having to choose. And I'm like, just now, recently, I think I filled out a piece of paper for her, and it said it was like multiracial or something.
Yeah.
Um, and for myself. So it, I don't. It's disheartening that I have to teach her something about this. Like, disheartening that I have to try to educate my 5-year-old about everything going on right now, and she's 5. You ask her though, and she's skin tone. She doesn't say black or white. She's like, I'm skin tone, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what am I? Skin tone, like, she's 5.
Yeah, and it's always so crazy to see the innocence of a child and to see how, when you're in daycare and even in your early years, it doesn't matter who your friends are. Everyone's just friends with everyone. And then, as you get older and you start to see how the world works in different ways, um, people start implanting things and those in your mind, and then those same friends that you were friends with, you start to drift apart from, for various reasons, not.
Listen, I just had a situation.
Yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I don't know if you saw my post on Facebook, um, where um, somebody was shot. It's actually somebody I went to school with. And they weren't able to, check messages, check Facebook. She's white. And I decided I would add her dad. I'll add her dad as a friend on Facebook so I can keep up. Um, and I have distanced myself from her. I haven't talked to her in years, but she was hurt. So I grew up with her. We were friends. Let me check on her. And he said that he messaged me and basically was like, I'm seeing a lot of racial tendencies on your page that I don't remember. And I'm like, it was right after I put Black Lives Matter in a
Yeah.
post. And I'm like, racial tendencies. I'm black and I'm white. I'm telling you about my childhood, and you he came at me all wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 100%.
Because his white daughter, was shot by a black man.
Yeah.
And because she was shot by that black man, now all of you are done.
Yeah.
Is basically how he saw it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to, the people that listen, if you are friends with me on Facebook, it took me an hour and a half to reply to him because I was trying to empathize and I was trying to educate as well as I could. And I didn't want to flip. I didn't want to, go off. I tried. And some people don't want to be educated. Like, they just want one thing. And so, like you said, you drift apart from your friends, but then you're also like, I guess for me, I'm like, wait a minute, I used to stay at this person's house. Like, is this what you thought the whole time? Like, you didn't
Yeah.
just pop off not liking black people just because she was shot by a black van.
Yeah.
I think that you've always felt this way.
I empathize with the father who's hurting, but I just think the anger is just displaced in the wrong direction. And prayers for his family, and rest in peace his daughter.
Well,
That's
she's
a
alive. She's alive.
okay, okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's alive.
Oh, she just got shot. Okay.
Yes,
Well, still
by a
heal.
black man.
Yeah,
Don't forget.
yeah, yeah. Healing for the family, nonetheless. That's a terrible situation, but I just hope that from doing this podcast and sharing resources and through educating, that we can just get away from some of these stereotypes and stigmas that black people are bad, and I just want us to be able to heal as a country. We're still going through a global pandemic that is, killing everyone, black people, white people, of people of all different races and ethnicities. And I just want us to be able to get through this, get stronger as a country, and just rebuild. Do you have any closing words that you want people to take away from this episode?
Um, if you have privilege, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that you have privilege. Everybody has to acknowledge the problem as well. Everybody. We have to love and we have to listen. We have to educate those who are speaking up and asking those questions, brave enough to want to be educated. Um, I know we're about to get off here, but I had a lash appointment today. She's
Yeah,
a white woman, young white girl. Um, I've been going to her since I moved to Little Rock, and we had actually I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, and we're having a great conversation around. I won't say great, but a meaningful conversation
yeah,
around racism. She mentioned how embarrassed, how ignorant she was, are the words that she used, because she wasn't more aware of the problem that we have. She, as a white woman, admitted that. She asked questions and she wanted, to be educated. And that's all people are asking for. Like, use your voice, use your platform, use your privilege. You can't be silent. Um, I, I say this as in it's kind of Christ-like. You can't be
yeah,
lukewarm. You're
yeah,
either with God or you're against him. So with this movement, you're either with us or you're against us, because your silence speaks volumes. You can't be lukewarm. And that's the only way we're going to move forward.
yeah. And that was a very great illustration and great point. Kiara, thank you for taking the time. It was always good to catch up with you, and it's always good to see a different perspective. We are going to be bringing you guys at least 3 more episodes. I want to do at least 6 episodes on this, but that doesn't mean we're done with this. We're going to continue to speak up against injustices and things that are wrong within the country, and I want you guys to do the same. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We'll be back next week where we'll be highlighting black business owners. So stay tuned and peace.